Hey everybody, Bryce Larson here. I'm going to be doing a quick video about the First Strike accuracy data that we just posted. The data sheet's fairly complicated, and let me walk you through what we have here. It's got 3 tabs on it. I'm going to open this at the same time so you guys can see. I don't think I need to do any screenshots because you guys can open it yourselves and look at it. If you need a moment, go open it, look at it while we're doing the video. First tab is the first strike rounds. On the left-hand side, it says raw data. This is basically impact location on the target and velocity. Raw data, so this is impact location. Now, the Tiberius, if you've ever shot it, you know that the magazine goes into it. You have to push pretty hard to get that mag back in there. Our clamping system is good, but it's not that good. You can't smack the gun around on it. So what we did was every time we changed the magazine, it would change our impact location. So you see that there's a few that are missing. Like if you look at the raw data at 100 feet, magazine 1, number 1 has no data. Probably missed the target. What we would do is instead of then pulling it out and adding one first strike round again to it, we would then just change the impact location. The next shot would hit at 3 and 0, which means it was 3 inches to the right, 0 inches high. That's perfect. So what we did is we shot the rest of the 7, loaded a new mag. First one hit at 8.8. Second one, we actually had a broken fin on a couple of them, and I don't know if that's the loading system. They're damaged before they went into the gun or what. But we had a couple that were a little wonky. Like if you look on first strike rounds, mag number 3, how there's only 5. The 6th shot actually came out without a fin. Half of the fin was missing when it came out. Went flying off crazy, skipped off the ground. So we skipped that, go ahead and reloaded the gun, and we shot an additional 5 rounds. So that's why there's some jumping around. Now, this has a little more complicated math than what we normally do because we had to kind of sum all of these magazines together. What we did is on the right-hand side of that, data corrected to 0, 0. What we did is we took the mean impact location per magazine. Okay, so let's say that the mean impact location, we'll look at, let's say, raw data, magazine 1 on the first strike, rounds at 150 feet. Minus 1.57, that means it was 1.5 inches to the left, and 14.29 high. Okay, that's where the center of that data was. What we did is we subtracted that mean from all of the, subtracted or added that mean to the data. What that does is it takes the mean, if you look over on the right-hand side, on the data corrected on the same magazine at 150 feet, the mean is now 0, 0, which means we've taken that whole group of data, and we've shifted it so that the center of that group is on 0, 0. Relations between the points are still exactly the same. What this allowed us to do was to take the overall vector for the entire group. And if you look at the bottom of the right-hand side, the yellow boxes show the standard deviation for X, standard deviation for Y. That's for the whole data set. Now that we've centered them all together, we can use them as if they're all the same string of 20 to 30 shots. Total vector is calculated exactly the same way. Go and look at my really quick tutorial on Punkworks if you're on the Punkworks section of the TechPB forums if you're curious about what vector means. I did some pictures and it's pretty straightforward. It's in the Punkworks section. I think it's pinned. It's called What is Vector? Something like that. Range is min, or max minus min. The reason we did range, we don't normally do that. We have used it in the past. The reason we did it is that this is the way that the Tiberius people determined their accuracy when they made the claim 25 times as accurate. They used a square, meaning how tall was it and how wide was it. Now, I'll get into this in a minute. The square may not be the optimal format for this, but I'll show you that it doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. Okay, that's tab 1. That's all the data for the first strike rounds. Tab 2, normal balls. This is a shot of a set of it's either 20 or 22 shots, I'm not sure exactly, from previous testing. Okay, 150 feet is on the left, 100 feet is on the right. We did the same calculations. This is easier because it was just a string. Since we're shooting out of a hopper, you don't have to bash the gun around. We just shot them all. Velocity X, Y. Standard deviations for X and Y. Vector calculated from those. We also did the range on these. This is the highest minus the lowest, and the furthest right, furthest left. Okay, so how wide and how tall is the pattern. So if you took a tape measure and measured from the top to the bottom impact or from the left to the right impact, that's what range means, okay? So 150 feet, 100 feet. Next tab is where all the really, where the rubber hits the road. This is the comparisons. Like I said, Tiberius claims 25 times as accurate. We wanted to give them we wanted to do as many different accuracy calculations as we could to give them sort of, give them an opportunity to for us to find out which one they were using when they got that 25 times as accurate number. First one we did. This is the one I think is probably the most valid. Okay, We like the vector. I think it's a good calculation. The first one is vector comparison. Just straight up, vector of first strike at 100 feet, vector of paintballs at 100 feet, 150 for each. We found that the vector at 100 feet was 4.44 for the first strike, and it was 7.07 for the regular paintballs. That means that the first strike rounds were about 1.6 times as accurate. Okay? At 150 feet, the vector on the first strike was 6.32, vector on the standard paint was 16.17. That means that it's over 2.5 times as accurate. Now, just to give them the opportunity to since they were using an area measurement, how wide and how tall, they were saying theirs was going to hit a square this big, whereas paintballs are going to hit a square this big. So we did the next calculation to find out the area of that square or the circle. We used the vector as the radius of the circle, or the vector as the half width and half height of the square. And that's what you'll see. Area of a circle is radius 1 vector, area of a square based off the vector. If you'll see here, the area of the first strike at 100 feet was 62 square inches. The area of standard paint at 100 feet was 157 square inches, 2.5 times as accurate if you're using an area format. At 150 feet, it was actually 6.55, 6.6 times as accurate. That's actually a remarkable number. Let me just put this in a different method. With the vector, if you go look at the tutorial, we're talking about circles, right? The first strike at 150 feet, 68% of the paintballs at 150 feet, so 2/3 of the paintballs, based on our vector, will land on a circle 12 inches across. Okay, that's pretty impressive. That means if you're looking at somebody's chest, 2/3 of them are on there. 95% are going to land on a circle 24 inches across. If you're aiming center of mass, that means you're probably hitting a person at 150 feet 92-95% of the time. Very impressive. A regular paintball at 150 feet, 2/3 of them are going to land in a circle 32 inches across. Okay, that's wider than a person. That's only 2/3. 95% of them are going to land in a circle 5 feet across. All right, so even though our vector only shows 2.5 times as accurate, this is a remarkable difference at that kind of range. 150 feet is the longest we had for indoor testing, and it is a good range because at 150 feet, people still try to shoot each other all the time in paintball. And 150 feet, the paintball is going to do some really funny stuff. A 5-foot pattern at 150 feet is not unusual. If you want to say all of my paint's going to land in an area, that area is going to be 5 feet across. There seems to be a straight-up relationship that the further you are downrange, the more better that the first strike is going to be. So it is entirely possible that at extreme ranges, the first strike round is 25 times as accurate. In fact, at some ranges, the first strike round is going to be infinitely more accurate because there will be a range out there, I believe, that you can hit a person with a first strike round where it is impossible to hit them with a paintball, where you cannot shoot a paintball that far and you can shoot a first strike round that far. I'm not going to say that we're going to give them a total backup on their 25 times as accurate. In useful ranges, 250, 300 feet possibly, it might be getting close. We'll have to try to find a way to do some extreme range shooting and see if we can do this. The problem is capturing the data. If we're looking at a paintball landing in a 25-foot circle, the first strike landing in a 5-foot circle, it's going to be really hard to measure. But it is possible. Anyway, hopefully this was helpful, and we'll keep plugging away at our tests and keep watching our videos and checking out the forum. Thanks, guys.